For Sunday, October 18th, 2020. This is the Pro and Con Show, and I am your host, Michael James Ott. And as always, welcome to the show. So, Pro and Con Show. Okay, the facts are complex, these issues that face us. And unfortunately, the way that the cable systems and cable channels, the proliferation of cable channels and the proliferation of internet websites with so-called news on them, all of this stuff has led to these compartments of information that segments of our culture, segments of us, like more than others. And there's positives and negatives to that. But when it comes to news, so it's one thing if, okay, there's a new website and it's talking about cars and car technology and driving and stuff like that, you know, and people go to that website and that information flows to them. Okay, that's kind of this interest kind of thing. And that's fine, I think, on the whole. But when it comes to so-called the news, and the real news is the who, the what, the where, and the when, right? Just the factual stuff. Unfortunately, those channels, because the who, the what, the where, and the when, it only takes a few minutes to cover that for most people, their interest in the world. And so to embellish it, to extend that information so it fills up multiple pages in a website or many hours on a cable TV channel, they embellish it with opinion and propaganda and prognostication and that's why, you know, any of these things, Fox News or CNN or any of the many places, they'll say, well, you know, the president just landed in his helicopter and here's what he said, and they give a little snippet of his video, and then let's see what the panel says. Okay, that's we don't care what the panel says. Okay, that's the panel is trying to give you this feeling like the world agrees with you. And the reality is that there is some agreement with you, but there's also opposite opinions. Pro and con, good and bad, for and against. And we need to take that in because, you know, we are in this world together. And you know, on a religious basis, there's many different religions. On a financial basis, there's many different levels or classes or you know, financial statuses out there. You know, and then there's culturally, all kinds of different things. It's a very complex thing, and we need to look at these things and take the time to look at them from many perspectives and gather information that represents how many people see these things, and then use that as a basis, share that amongst all of us, and use that as a basis for taking next steps to address issues that as we see them, or to improve the positive aspects of whatever it is as we see fit. Anyway, so today's show is called Giuliani. And just like you saw Mary Trump, who is a niece of Donald Trump, and you've seen dozens of people that worked in the Trump administration and former officials and stuff like that. The list goes on and on and on. Family members talking about how inappropriate the behaviors and the personalities and stuff are. So this is the daughter of Rudy Giuliani, Carolyn Rose Giuliani, and she wrote this article for Vanity Fair. And so if you want to read this, you can, again, Google it. Okay? You can Google Carolyn Rose Giuliani, Vanity Fair article, and you will read this title, Rudy Giuliani is my father. Please, everyone vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Okay? So I'm going to read just a few little parts of this article because, again, the people that know them best, you should not ignore their viewpoints, okay? And there'll be a lot of you, if you're watching this video and you've been a staunch Trump supporter up until now, maybe it's wavering a little bit, maybe not. But the reality is these people do know them very well, and you need to hear what they have to say and at least read it, at least understand it, okay? So let me just read this first paragraph. I have a difficult confession, something I usually save for at least the second date, okay? My father is Rudy Giuliani. We are multiverses apart, politically and otherwise. I've spent a lifetime forging an identity in the arts that is very separate from my last name, so publicly declaring myself as a Giuliani feels counterintuitive. But I've come to realize that none of us can afford to be silent now. The stakes are too high. I accept that most people will start reading this piece because you saw the headline with my father's name. But now that you're here, I'd like to tell you how urgent I think this moment is. Okay, and then she goes into, her, very troubling relationship with her dad. Basically, she's saying that she's never agreed with him, and they've argued quite a bit over all kinds of aspects of society and stuff like that. So on occasion, they would have a flash of connection, and in these disagreements with my dad, I felt like nothing changed for the better. So I would retreat again until another issue I couldn't stay silent on surfaced. And over the years, other subjects like racial sensitivity or lack thereof, sexism, policing, and social safety net have all risen to this boiling point in me. It felt important to speak my mind, and I'm glad that we at least managed to communicate it all. But the chasm was painful nonetheless, and has gotten exponentially more so in Trump's era of chest-thumping partisan tribalism. Okay, tribes, cults. This is what we've allowed ourselves to become. I imagine many Americans can relate to the helpless feeling that this confrontation cycle created in me, but we are not helpless. I may not be able to change my father's mind, but together we can vote this toxic administration out of office. Okay, and Trump and his enablers, including my father, have used this presidency to stoke the injustice that already permeated our society, taking it to a dramatically new Bond villain-like height. I am a filmmaker in the LGBTQ community who tells stories about mental health, sexuality, and other stigmatized issues, and my goal is to humanize people and foster empathy. So I hope you'll believe me when I say that another Trump term, a term itself that makes me cringe, will irrevocably harm the LGBTQ community, among many others. His administration asked the Supreme Court to let businesses fire people for being gay or trans, and pushed a regulation to let healthcare providers refuse services to people of our community. And so, one last paragraph here. In 2016, I realized I needed to speak out in a more substantial way than just debating my dad in private, especially since I wasn't getting anywhere with those debates. So I publicly supported Hillary Clinton, and I began canvassing for congressional candidates. If the unrelenting deluge of devastating news makes you think I'm crazy for having hope, please remember that making us feel powerless is a tactic politicians use to make us think our voices and votes don't matter, but they do. It's taken persistence and nerve to find my voice in politics, and I'm using it now to ask you to stand with me in the fight to end Donald Trump's reign of terror. So this is Rudy Giuliani's daughter. And of course, fathers and daughters don't always see eye to eye. Same thing for me. But you should pay close attention to what she's saying about, and read the entire article, by the way. I just hit a few highlights. But pay attention to what she's saying about her father, and then think about how you've seen him behave in a public arena, and see how that matches up with what her perceptions are in a private arena. And I tell you that this does not surprise me at all. Having watched and witnessed Mr. Giuliani in multiple interviews on multiple television programs and stuff like that, and now reading this article, the two really clearly mesh quite well in my mind. But you make your own decision. Go find the article and read it yourself. But this is the thing: as a good citizen, you've got to open your minds, open your eyes, open your ears, open your minds to the fact that your current position may or may not be correct. And you should take in this information, even though in some cases it flies in the face of what you want to believe. Because the reality is that a lot of the things that you think you know, you don't know. And that's the truth. For the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.